discuss money, but not in a way you might expect. We're not talking about budgets or spreadsheets. We're exploring the energy of money. Our guest here is Hannah Bier, a money coach who helps women all over the world release money blocks, heal their relationships with abundance, and create financial flow with ease. Together, we'll explore how our beliefs and emotions around money influence not only our bank accounts, but also our well-being, a sense of safety, and even how we show up in the world. If you've ever felt stuck in patterns of scarcity, anxiety about finances, or wondered how money connects to your overall energy and vitality, this episode is for you. This was a really beautiful episode. I loved talking to Hannah because everything she talks about really connects to the energy of Chinese medicine. So I'm really excited for you to hear this also. Welcome, Hannah. I'm so excited to have you on today. Why don't you start by introducing yourself to our audience here?
Hey, Katherine. I'm so honored to be here. I'm a money coach. I originally started out studying fashion management, but then I got this very strong soul urge when I was just 22 to start a business. And so I quit fashion, became a life coach very early on, and that's where my journey with discovery with money began.
I love that. Where did you go to school for fashion management? I went to school in a fashion school also.
I went in Cologne in Germany. So I'm half German, half American. My dad's American. I grew up in Germany and I've always loved living in Europe. So I lived in Europe for most of my life. And yeah, I went to school here.
Nice. Wonderful. So I'm curious, how did you first become a life coach? I think it was at 22. You said you became a life coach. How did you first become a life coach? Like what drew you to that?
I've always been very sensitive. So I'm clairvoyant. I've always been able to see energy. So everything that Chinese medicine talks about, that Ayurveda talks about, like I can see that. I can see the nadis, I can see the energy channels. I've just always been able to see it. And so ever since I can imagine, I've been talking to dogs and to the fly on the wall and to angels and all of that. And so when I was in college, I was struggling with an anxiety disorder. I had been anorexic for most of my teenage years. I was so exhausted and my soul just started speaking to me. It was actually one morning that I was walking to class. It was snowing really hard and I was kicking the snow with my feet and I kept hearing my soul say, start a business, start a business. And that same day, it was, a long time ago. And so that same day was the first day that I discovered, I think it was a woman who posted on social media that she was working from a coffee shop in New York City. And she was posting about how she's just a one-person business and she's just working from her computer. It's just her. And I remember seeing that and my soul saying, this is for you. Like quit everything, do this now. And then a couple of days later, I went to my university cafeteria and there was this poster that said, come to Bali and had a palm tree on it. And my soul said, yes. And so within a couple of days, like I changed my whole life. And so I've always had that where my soul was so loud. Like my soul has always been guiding me in very clear ways. And so in my relationship with money, the reason why I started this journey of wanting to heal my relationship with money was because I wanted to have the financial resources to be able to follow my soul in the moment. So when my soul says it's time to fall pregnant, it's time to have a baby, I wanted to be ready. I wanted to know that there was nothing holding me back from following it like that, or I moved to Amsterdam when one morning I woke up and my soul said, time to live in Amsterdam, like a couple of days later, I was moving. And then I moved to London. And again, it was just one morning I woke up and that same day, I gave notice to my landlord and I said, I'll be out next week, essentially. And so my journey with money is very much inspired by just this desire to make decisions based on soul rather than money.
I love that. That's beautiful. And it also kind of like takes the stigmatism out of money, right? I think that a lot of us, and we'll get into this probably more, have like negative feelings about money, not as much, not always like bringing it in, but just like what money means to a lot of people can come from a negative place. So I love this place of like guided by soul. I am curious though, you said you heard the soul calling and then you saw a woman on a computer. A lot of people, if they had seen the same thing, would have been like, that's wonderful for her, but I can't do that. What do you think gave you that confidence to move forward with that?
Actually, a joke, and I'm sure you've heard about this before. Like for a while, this was like all the rage. It was this joke. It goes something like, don't you wish that you had the confidence of a 22-year-old life coach, right? I was the butt of that joke. Like, I was the 22-year-old life coach. But also, I had extensive training. I had lots of clients. I was like really doing a great job. So my success in my early 20s was very much deserved. And I was incredibly young. And one of the payoffs of being so young was having no resistance. I had no evidence in my mind that told me that it was impossible because the coaching industry was a baby at the time. Social media was a baby at the time. I had no evidence to the contrary, and my soul had never steered me astray. And so I jumped in like head first. And now when I'm manifesting things, I often think back at that time of just how easily things come together when there is no resistance.
Interesting. What do you think is the resistance that most people have created for themselves? Where do you think that comes from?
I mean, as an energy healer, I really see that it's often also transgenerational. I think many of us come into our bodies and there's so much stuff from mom, from dad, from grandparents. Both of my grandparents were refugees during World War II. They lost everything. And so there was always this feeling in me of everything could be taken, life is really uncertain. And I always had this really intense sense of underlying anxiety and stress. And it wasn't until I discovered the emotional healing modalities that I used in my first business with myself and my clients that I started to notice just how nice it feels to have a really soft, relaxed body where life force energy is able to flow freely, where there is no resistance, where I trust that life knows what it's doing. And just everything good in my life started to flow from that place of feeling really secure and calm in my own body. And what I also know is that most of us don't have a single example of a person who lives this way. If I look around my environment now, everyone is stressed. Nobody feels safe in their bodies. Nobody's happy with their appearance. Like nobody parents their children from a true place of feeling secure and connected. And so it's very rare to find those examples. But also with money, I live 15 minutes away from Mercedes-Benz, 20 minutes away from Porsche, and then like the Bosch factories are really close by. So there's a lot of money where I live. But the more money people accumulate, like they're not enjoying it, like they're not happy with it, they're not playing with it. And so I'm so grateful for my soul's guidance because my soul has always been really loud in telling me forge your own path. Like life is supposed to be fun. Life is supposed to be easy. Your body is supposed to feel incredible. Parenting is supposed to feel really fun and easy. And so I've just kind of been, doing life a little differently, but it's been so incredibly rewarding. And I still notice how many of us, we don't even know what to ask for because we just don't see it.
Yeah, and that's why I love sharing stories like yours because one, it gives this example of what you can have, right? The life that you can lead. But also the example, a lot of times, if we do see, one example or two examples of someone living this life that we wish we had, we think that we can't have it, right? Because we feel like that person's special or that person did something special. But as you said, you didn't come from, a lot of money either. You had to go through blocks also. So it means that it is possible for other people also.
Both of my grandparents on my mom's side, as like I've already said, they were child refugees. They came to Germany when they were 12 years old from Eastern Europe. They saw incredible destruction and death along the way, arrived in a country that wasn't their home, that was complete rubble, that was the cause of two world wars. Just a really tough place to start your life from. And then on my dad's side, most of my family members joined the army because there was just nothing else to do. Like that was the only way to earn a living. Yeah, it is. I feel that it's a really great honor for me to get to heal my relationship with money and to get to set a new precedent, not just for my daughter, but just hopefully inspiring more people around me that work is supposed to be fun and we do get paid for being ourselves. And it is safe, right, and good to be wealthy. Most of all, though, I feel like your work and mine is so deeply aligned in the sense that you help people's life force energy flow freely in their bodies so that what's so natural can easily happen. And it's the same with money. It really feels like when someone's free and flowing energetically and have no resistance to living the good life, money becomes effortless. Money becomes so easy and it actually doesn't feel magical. It just feels organic. It feels normal because it is our natural state. is to have all of our needs met and all of our desires fulfilled.
Yeah, totally. And there is a lot of parallels between our work because from a physical perspective, right, when we talk about money and abundance, from a physical perspective, blood and yin and qi, those are the resources in our body that help to get pregnant and maintain a healthy pregnancy. Those are inner resources, right? That is like our financial currency in our body. And so when we have a depletion of our financial currency internally, we have it externally as well. And a lot of the work I do is also like helping to remove those blocks so that women can move forward and change their careers, change where they live, like do the things that feel good to them. Because whenever we're living in resistance, we're creating imbalance in our body and then we're creating illness and disease.
Yeah, what you talk about a lot in your social media marketing that I so appreciate is about the stress. How it's just, I feel like so many of us were trying to do all the right things, right? Like we try to eat healthy and we try to meditate and we try to be good friends and we read all the self-help books. But if we have this underlying feeling of we're not safe in our bodies, it's like that constant static inside of ourselves is what directs the course of our lives. So we could be doing all the right things, and yet it still feels like our life is going down a direction that we don't prefer. And so this is the power of doing this emotional healing work around money. It's because many of us get to experience true safety in our bodies for the very first time.
Right. And money gives you freedom. And I've heard you talk about financial freedom a lot, and it does give you freedom to do what you want to do, to have the time to spend with your family, to slow down. And that is really powerful for a lot of women. I know you also talk a lot about the spirit of money. So, what is the spirit of money?
Yeah. So, money really is an expression of love. When we were little, our parents were supposed to meet our needs. They were supposed to kiss us and snuggle us and play with us and give us nice jammies to wear and delicious food to eat. And then as we grow older, money becomes the replacement for this love and care that we would receive from our parents. And so we get to love ourselves using money. We get to have a beautiful home and we get to choose work that feels enlivening and enriching. We get to buy plane tickets to go to our best friend's wedding across the country. And so the way that we love ourselves with money is so important. And yet most of us look at money from the perspective of achievement. Like, I want to have the big house and I want to have the car and I want to have the 6-figure, 7-figure business in order to be somebody, in order to, feel secure in the world, in order to feel like I'm doing life right. But really, money is so much deeper than the numbers, than the external things that it can bring to our lives. It really is an expression of love. And so when we open up our ability to have and receive love, then money has to flow freely. I'm sure all of us can think of an example of somebody who's not like the smartest person. They may not have the best morals. They may not have the best work ethic, but they're doing really well in life because they have this feeling inside of them that allows them to receive lots and lots of love and attention. Just like when a puppy is born, right? They're like, love me. And, they chew on everything, but you love them anyway. And they keep you up all night and you love them anyway. And they're just such great receivers of love. And that's actually our natural state when we begin to see money, not as a measurement of our worth, but as an expression of love. And when we open up our capacity and start to realize it's safe, right, and good to have money, not just be a great money maker, but have money, the sense of really deep relaxation, this deep knowing of all is well, excellently taken care of, more and more is coming, is gonna happen. And for me, having that experience was life-changing.
Yeah, that's interesting because what you talk about, that connection to early childhood and getting that love and nourishment from a caregiver, is very much what we think of in Chinese medicine when we don't get that love and that, everything we're supposed to get essentially from our mother, but it could be our father or whoever our caregiver is, like that really nourishment from our parents, that love from our parents, or we feel like we have to work for that love from our parents. Then as we get older, we're not able to nourish our bodies properly, right? Our energy is misaligned where we physically cannot create the resources in our body that we need to because we're lacking that feeling of nourishment, that lacking that feeling of whole and complete. So that's interesting that it goes back to that tie of money too. Do you feel like it's kind of the same correlation that if someone, grows up in a situation where they're not directly getting that love that they should have growing up? They're not getting the needs met that they should have growing up. Do they then grow up with money issues and blockages there as well?
Absolutely. So, the way that love flows between us and our main caregivers when we're little directly correlates with how money flows in our lives as adults today. And there's like three camps of people that I usually work with. The first is the one you've already mentioned, and I fall into this camp where love was never enough. I was always longing for it, craving it. And then later on, as I was growing up, it always just felt like there was this hole inside me. Like I had never truly felt seen, never truly felt emotionally safe. Couldn't get the nourishment that I needed. And then as an adult, it also felt like it was never enough. Even when my business was thriving and my savings were growing, my investments were doing great. And at some point, I did this like silly thing where like you Google your net worth and you're comparing it to the people in your age group, but a way of like trying to show off. For me, it was like, am I going to be okay? Like, am I okay? Am I doing well enough in life? Like, should I be scared for my life? Or do I have enough money to be able to survive? Like, that was always my feeling with money. And it wasn't until I started to shift this feeling of lack that my money started feeling enough, but also that my money started to grow even faster and that it didn't feel like such an upward struggle all the time. And then there was a second camp, which is people who grew up and they did have loving parents, but the love was very inconsistent. Where sometimes the parents were too, and sometimes not so much. And so they're often on this like roller coaster. Those are often the clients that come to me and they tell me about their impressive things that they've done in their careers and their businesses. They're often really high earners. They made a ton of money. And then when I talk to them, they tell me, I have nothing. I blew my 500K inheritance. I earned 30K for years. I have nothing left at all. And so many people are on this like crazy roller coaster ride where they're great earners, but they're not great at having money. And so if love didn't feel consistent, like you could just keep it and have it and sit in it and trust it, then it's really important as adults now to make that distinction between I need to earn more money and I'm someone who gets to have money. That's the thing to practice. And then the third group are people who had to be good little girls, good little boys, always please mommy and daddy, and only then are they able to have love. And that's a really painful dynamic to have because later on in life, it often feels like they get to have love and money and well-being, but they have to pay a really steep price for it. I'm sure you come across a lot of people like that where they pay for their success in life with their health, their family life, their emotional well-being. And so they never really get to get paid for being themselves. They don't ever really got to be loved for being themselves. In order to get their needs met, they really have to sacrifice something or betray themselves. And so for those people, we really need to work on letting ourselves get paid for who we are and releasing that belief that it has to cost us something.
Right, that money comes at a high cost. And I do see a lot of this in my practice because that's when your health is affected, right? When you're burned out, when you're doing something that you don't really love just for money, right? You're creating, again, more resistance, more stress. You're throwing off your nervous system. You're throwing off your entire system, right? So that is what I see a lot is like this feeling that we need to achieve something or we need to work super, super hard. If people feel this way, how can they start to kind of unravel that thinking?
Yeah, so I use family constellation therapy to start to shift these intergenerational patterns. Many people are surprised when we talk about money that I always talk about the family of origin, but all of us kind of know that our biggest issues come from our family, come from our childhood, come from our upbringing. And I know most of us, we want to meditate our self-esteem issues away, or we want to diet our fertility issues away, right? Like we're trying to do all the right things. But really, until the body feels truly safe, it's going to feel like an uphill battle. And so I love to use family constellation therapy to create order in the family system, to resolve all those dynamics from childhood, to get people into right relationship with their parents. What I most love about it is that it's energetic work. So you don't have to talk to anybody. You don't have to be in family therapy with anybody. We can just help you get in alignment. It feels like a chiropractic adjustment for your whole family system where everything kind of pops into the right place. And I'm sure people experience this as a result of working with you, where you just take this really deep sigh of relief where everything just feels right and you can just feel it, where things are flowing the way that they're supposed to. And so So I love family constellation therapy. It has some very clear ideas around what's appropriate and what's not appropriate in family systems that I find incredibly refreshing. And it also guides us in how to best guide our children into a life that is abundant and free and happy and full of life force energy that is totally uninhibited.
Yeah, I love family constellation therapy too. I have a friend who does it, and I did a session once, probably a year, maybe a year and a half ago at this point, and I only did one session. I'm sure you need more, but I just found that even just one session was like extremely transformational. So if you haven't tried family constellation therapy, I highly recommend trying it. So for those out there who, they're struggling to make money, right? It's hard to have an abundance mindset when you don't have money. So how can you start to cultivate an abundance mindset when you're coming from lack, right? When you're going to the grocery store and you have to check the prices of things, when it's a struggle to pay your bills, where can people start if they're at that point?
Yeah, that's a really, really tough place to be in. And I most definitely started in that place of laying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, and just being like, I have no clue how I'm going to make rent, like at all. And I know none of my family can help me. And I had this constant fear of ending up homeless and just the shame and the embarrassment and just feeling like I totally screwed up. So I feel like ever since I actually started working when I was 11 years, I was doing paper rounds, but you were supposed to be 14. So I just forged my parents' signature and just, started working because my whole life I just kind of felt like I have to take excellent care of myself with money because I'm going to be the first person in my family to enjoy true financial well being and true financial freedom. And so for many of us who started in a place where it just feels like things are really, really, really tight. We're being tasked with one of the hardest things to do, which is where we have to develop a sense of abundance, a sense of prosperity, even before our environment looks the way we want it to. And I can imagine that that's really hard when the evidence points to a very different situation. So I want to totally acknowledge that. And it's also true that the energies that you are living right now is what's going to become your future. So if you are able to clear the vibrational pattern in your body that's been guiding money so far, the vibrational pattern that says, I am poor, money is really hard for me, the economy is struggling right now, people don't like me or people don't get me, or, love comes into my life, but it doesn't really stay, or I can't really trust money. There's so much emotional baggage that we accumulate over the course of our lives, and it makes our bodies feel really heavy and weighed down. And so for somebody like that, I want to encourage them to start to connect to an infinite stream of well being. Your consciousness knows what that looks like, what that feels like. So just let your consciousness conjure up an infinite stream of well being. To me, it looks like a beautiful stream of white light, and just allow it to come from any direction, allow it to flow to you and through you, and start to wash away all of this emotional baggage that you've accumulated with money, and then decide that you're going to find tools to let yourself feel safe, to maybe start to believe that life loves you and that your soul guides you and that opportunities abound and that you can let yourself feel abundant even before physical abundance has shown up. And so this is the place to start. And I want to acknowledge that doing it on your own can feel really hard, especially when you're in an environment where most people are in a similar situation as you.
Yeah, and if somebody is in that situation and they have a job that they have to do for survival, right? For money to pay the bills, but it's not the job they love and they maybe want to start their own business or do something else. How can they kind of do both without burning out?
I'm a very big fan of money on the side. When I first started my business, with my background of anxiety around money, it always felt much better to have a side job. And I know many people, when they first try to transition into something else, the big goal is to be full time in the other thing. But there isn't, like, however you make a living is wonderful. Like, there is no shame in any honest job that you do. And so I am a very big fan of taking it slow. If you can sign one client on the side, for many people that makes a very big difference. If you can then sign two clients, if you can then sign three clients, and then cut back on your day job just gradually, just a little bit, maybe one day less or half a day less, just gradually transition, it's going to feel a lot for your nervous system to do it this way.
So a lot of us have negative, and maybe not necessarily a money block, although I'm sure this is a form of a money block, but like they have a negative feeling about money, like wanting money is egotistical or having too much money is going to make you a certain way. What would you say to those people?
Yeah, I want to go back to the topic of the fact that money is an expression of love. And so imagine two babies being born. Does one of them deserve more safety, more love, more well being than the other? Like the resounding answer is no, obviously. And so that truth includes you, right? That truth includes all of us. I believe that every single person is born and just by fact of that deserves to be well, deserves to be loved, deserves to have an abundance of resources. And that is what money embodies. It is love. It is resources. It is having your needs met. It is the wind in your sails. It is the door that opens that allows you to experience your life to your full potential. And when I test beliefs or thoughts, I always feel in my body, does this feel heavy or does this feel light? So energetically light, thoughts that make you feel light, thoughts that make you smile, thoughts that make you take a deep breath are closer to truth than thoughts that make you feel heavy. And so you may come across thoughts or beliefs that are very popular, that, we have to work for money, or you have to work a 9 to 5, or it's safer to be employed than it is to be an entrepreneur, or some of us just have unexplained fertility issues and there's nothing you can do about that. So just because a thought is popular, just because many people are deeply convinced of it, just because it's written about in newspapers, just because a large majority of people hold that belief, if it feels heavy, it is not true. And so start to use this internal compass that is sitting in your body to start to test beliefs and thoughts as to whether they're true or false. Again, something that is light, something that makes you smile, something that feels cozy and snuggly and like home is more true than something that isn't. And then you can try it. I always invite my clients to try it for a year. I always say, what if for a year you followed the light feeling thoughts, you follow the light feeling approach, and just see what happens. And if you hate what happens, you can always go back to doing it. I call it the muggle way, like the way that most people in the world live their lives. And nobody goes back to it because they start to realize it feels really good to think in terms of possibility rather than limitation. It feels really good to believe that life loves and guides me. It feels really good to believe that I'm blessed and cared for. It feels really good to believe that money comes easily into my life. It feels really good to believe that people come across me, instantly love me, and are so excited to work with me. It feels really good to feel that I don't have to work hard for money. People just really love giving me money. People love working with me. People, like, babies smile at me everywhere I go. All the dogs want to sniff my hand. That's just because I hold a really wonderful energy inside me. And so if somebody has been living this way for a year, their whole life has changed and they've seen a way that life can be. One of my mentors says she feels like Aladdin. It's like there's a magic carpet underneath her feet and just carries her around the world in a way that's so enjoyable. Like, you'll never go back to the old way. But it really starts with this commitment to discerning between what feels light and what feels heavy.
Do you ever have the situation though where the feelings that should be light feel heavy, right? Like the feeling of I welcome abundance into my life, that feels heavy because the person can't actually connect with that feeling in the moment.
Yeah, it often feels like a push and pull, right? Because we're like, oh, I want to believe this. Like, this just sounds like such a nice thing to believe. And we can tell that it feels lighter, but there's all this messaging in our body that's pointing in the other direction. This is why it's so important to, I always think about how all of us are being taught to brush our teeth and to take a shower and to wash away the dirt from our external life every single day, but hardly any of us take an internal shower, right? Like, we just go through life and we accumulate disappointments and other people's negative ideas, and then the neighbor complains and we take it on. And if we're therapists, or if we're team leaders at work, or if we work with children, or we work with patients, or it just feels like we take on so much heaviness from other people. And then oftentimes clients come to me and they'll say, my money isn't working. And I'm like, you not only have generations worth of emotional trauma around money, you also have a lifetime, decades worth of emotional baggage around money. And so I love to clear it. I'm like, let's get rid of this. Let's like turn on the shower and wash all of this away so that you can breathe again, so you can feel light again, so you can feel bright again, so you can like begin to hear your soul. Let's start there and start to figure out, what is it that you truly want? What is going to make you feel ecstatic? What is the life that you want? I've got clients who are like like serial entrepreneurs, like start a new company every single week, like live from their van. And then I have other people who just really want the big house and the big car and the picket fence. And, it's hard to hear your soul when you're so full of stuff. And so there's no way around, if we want to be truly free and have well-being with money, there is no way around clearing all of this emotional baggage. So if you're able to identify light feeling thoughts and a light feeling approach, and it just makes you feel so heavy, you're probably feeling the difference between your current vibrational state in your body and the vibrational state that would feel so much better. So turn on that stream of infinite well-being and start to clear yourself out. And if you want help with this, obviously, that's what I do for a living. I read people's energy fields and I clear you out so much that an abundance of money and love and well-being is, you can't not have it. It's the natural outcome. If we take all the rocks out of the river, the river will flow. The river has been there all along. And of course, it feels painful when life force energy and or money isn't flowing because it's unnatural. It's just not the way it's supposed to be.
Right. And I just want to also throw out for anyone listening that if you have these, it is so helpful to get support, right? You don't need to do everything alone, and getting support can really speed track you. So reach out to Hannah, reach out to me, reach out to anyone, right? But it's really get that support of clearing those blockages. Otherwise, it's going to take so much longer.
And you only have to do it once. Because once it's gone, right? Like once you've worked with a person, their body is really open and flowing and soft, like you can't undo that no matter how hard you try, right? Like it's just this, like once you've discovered what it's like to live this way, it's simply impossible. You're probably not going to help somebody work through all of their fertility issues once and then do it again with the second baby, because it's so incredible. And what I most love about this energy work is that inner work that you get paid for. So you get to feel all of this emotional baggage, feel lighter and brighter and freer than ever before. But like a side effect is that your business grows and your savings grows and you start to attract money and you start to enjoy it. How about that? And you start to play with it and your investments grow and you start to really see that money is actually the easiest part of your life.
Yeah. I think a lot of people listening would love to feel like money is the easiest part of their life. You do talk about having money and you talk about playing with money. What do you mean when you say those two things?
I think in our society, we often see a lot of rich people. So rich people are really easy to spot, right? Like they're the ones with the Porsche and they often like to be seen and they have the nice clothes and the bags and the everything, right? The only thing that tells me is that they have an ability and a willingness to spend. And blessings to them, like that's wonderful. But I don't know whether they're also people who are great at having money. So they're probably great at getting money because they either just had the money to buy the Porsche or they have the earning ability to get, to be able to lease a car like that. I've just come across so many rich people who wanted to work with me, who then confided in me that they don't actually have money and that they want to be people who have money. And I feel like many of us, when we set our goals with money, we set the rich people goals of like, I want a bigger income and I want to make this much in my business. And, some of us then, proceed to say, I want to make a really great profit. And I totally applaud that. And all those goals are so much fun. And yes, we can totally work on those. And what's really important to me is that people start to build their wealth. And those are usually the goals that people don't come to me with. Hardly anybody comes to me and says, I want to be financially free by the time I'm 40. I want to have my investments set up so that I work because I want to. Now, from an energetic healer point of view, I love it when my clients have a lot of money because it really unwinds the nervous system. It's just so beautiful to see. It's just incredible what happens to the body. Like the biochemistry really does start to change and people start to discover a feeling of ease and relaxation and belonging like never before. So my métier really is helping people heal emotionally through money. And I just I think it's really important to make that distinction that yes, it's great to be a great moneymaker. And let's also consciously set a goal that you will be somebody who has money, who works for the joy of it, who works because you want to contribute, who works because it's good for you, because it's great every day to think about how you can add to other people's lives and how to be useful. I believe that this is what work is supposed to be. Work isn't supposed to be, oh, I have to show up today for 8 to 9 hours so that I can buy groceries, and I want every single person to have that experience of, I get to work and it's a very good, positive experience for me, not because I have to.
Right. And that is so much more valuable than anything else in the world. And like you're saying, you can do that and make a lot of money doing it. Are you saying though that it's best not to have actual goals of like bringing in X amount a month or a year?
And some people are blocked by setting monthly income goals. And for some people, it's easier. When they're in corporate, I have this exercise where people start to shop around for new jobs. And it's a mindset that's really helpful where you're not needing to get a new job, you're not needing to get a promotion, you're not needing to get a better position, but you're shopping around. And it's actually a mindset that I want my corporate clients to have forever, where they're forever shopping around for really good opportunities, whether it's in their current company or whether it's in, networking opportunities, or whether they're just shopping around in their industry for something that can reward them and feel more and just more fun than what they're currently doing, and to just constantly allow their career to grow. And for my entrepreneurship clients, sometimes it feels better to think about the amounts of clients that they would like to enroll rather than income goals. And it's very common. So while somebody is still quite blocked with emotional baggage around money, I always invite my clients to set other goals. For example, can I get booked on 100 podcasts this year? Can I enroll 20 new clients this year? Can I, go to 30 interviews this year? And so the idea is to shop around and then to listen to your soul to see if any of those opportunities are one that you want to move forward with. But what I'm really interested in is like taking the seriousness out of our goals. And sometimes when people set income goals, it's like their whole energy goes, I better achieve it. It's really important. And then we have all these ideas wrapped up around what this means about us. And all of us know that somebody who earns $2,000 a month isn't better than somebody who earns $200,000 a month. And yet, this is kind of the message that is being reinforced everywhere we look, where somebody who earns six figures seems to be like better than somebody who earns $50,000 a year, which is like total bullshit. And yet, we're surrounded by this messaging. So many of us hold a lot of shame around our current income or our income goals, or is it enough? Is it not enough? And so sometimes a really nice shortcut to take is to just not set those goals at all and to set other goals that allows us to bring in more and more and more money without constantly measuring ourselves against other people, or even against your own idea of how much we should be earning and what that will mean about us.
Yeah, I also think it's important to have goals that are in your control, right? Earning a certain amount of money isn't always 100% in your control, or getting a certain amount of clients isn't always in your control. But what is in your control, right? It's creating content in your control, is emailing people, is interviewing. That's all in your control. So like, I love what you say about the goal of, be going on a 30 interviews, because again, that is something that for the most part is in your control. And I think it just energetically will set you up in a better place than reaching for something that's out of your control.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the whole process, it's supposed to feel good. Like everyone is stressed out about money. Life's too short, And so I know that it takes time to shift our beliefs with money. It takes time to clear our energy and to install a new software with money. It takes time to allow ourselves to establish new habits, to take a new approach and to really live that. And I want to offer a path that feels good along the way. I want my clients to start to feel lighter and brighter and better with money right from the start, because life is supposed to be enjoyable.
What's the difference between playing with money and just spending money? Or is there not a difference?
The enjoyment of it. I have a 4-year-old daughter, and ever since, I guess ever since she was 2, when it wasn't like a choking hazard anymore, she had her little piggy bank. And she just loves playing with money. And she like makes little towers and like plays with the bills and just like plays with it. And it feels like hardly anybody I know like just plays with money, just enjoys money, just like buy silly things. There's so much seriousness around money of like, don't buy anything silly and you have to be frugal. And yes, of course, it's nice to make wise decisions with money, and we don't just want to blow it on stuff that doesn't matter. And it's really okay to play with it. It's okay to enjoy it. It's love. Again, going back to the puppy, like the puppy really enjoys the petting and the going for walks and the just all the affection. And so, what if you could play with money and just enjoy it and take it easy and not make yourself wrong every time that you spend or make yourself wrong every time that you make a mistake?
Yeah, I love that. My daughter, she's 5.5, so similar age. But she will give away her money to anyone, right? She's like, sure, you want $1, have $1. Like, there's no attachment to it. She feels that it will come in abundance, right? If like she breaks or lose something, she has this sense that like, oh, I can just get another. And it's not because we spoil her. We don't just like buy her everything, but it's just this feeling that things will just happen and come to her. And I think that is what we all really need to embody, is this feeling that things will just come to us. So, a really big question I have for you is, do you feel like there's anyone out there who cannot have an abundant, secure financial life?
Yeah, I think it's natural to have our needs met and our desires fulfilled. Just like when it comes to physical health, sometimes my clients will come to me to read their energy field on their bodies, and that's not usually what I work on. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a health coach. And something that their bodies do tell me, though, is that health is a feeling. It's not a state of physical perfection. In the same sense that financial well being doesn't mean having $1 million in the bank. It doesn't mean having a 6-figure income. For each person, the definition is different. For me, true financial well being in a person shows up when they don't worry about money, when they only hold positive feelings around money. And so I think that every person is able to get to that place, but the actual facts of the situation will look different. Just like every single person can find a sense of well being and home in their bodies in whatever state that is in. I have a lot of clients who are autistic or who have chronic pain. And something that they taught me is that they're able to experience what their body is feeling and at the same time feel a sense of enjoyment or good feeling. That's kind of, it's like they're able to hold two different experiences at the same time. And I think that that's so fascinating. And I think that people who are on their way to more financial well being can already start there. You can admit to yourself that the current situation is challenging to navigate and at the same time hold really positive feelings around money that are going to weave a new future for you.
Yeah, I love that. And I also would recommend to people that if they are not in a situation where they see abundance, is looking at other people, right? And noticing that that can happen to them, right? Seeing other people not with jealousy, but with seeing it as what can be happen for you, right? It's like really taking on someone else's energy when you can't access it yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Before we close out today, is there any last thoughts you'd like to leave with our listeners?
I would say that this feeling inside that led you to listening to this podcast episode is right on the money, pun intended. We all have this compass inside that guides us down our soul path that has a very clear knowing of what's right for us. And even if you haven't experienced the financial well being that you really want to experience in your life so far, your inner compass is going to continuously guide you down that path. And the way that you can identify it is by listening to what feels light. So as you're listening to today's podcast episode, as you're thinking about the aspects of the conversation that felt light, that felt like a relief, that made you feel really good, just kind of keep walking in that direction. Keep taking steps in the direction of what feels lighter and brighter and better and freer, and you will make your way there. I think it's so fascinating that many of us, like me, come from poverty or come from a lot of family trauma around money, and yet we have this very clear feeling in our bodies of what life is supposed to be like. That money is supposed to be abundant and that we're supposed to be well, that we're supposed to sleep at night with a big smile on our face, knowing that we're excellently taken care of.
Beautiful. I love that. And for anyone who feels inspired here to reach out to you, to work with you, how can people find you, and what aspects do you, what ways can they work with you?
Yeah, my website is hannahbier.com. That's HANNABIER.com. You can apply for coaching with me. I offer private coaching. I also have my Moneymaker Academy. So we can hop on a call, talk about your situation. I'm happy to read your energy field. We can map out some results that we can create together and talk about a potential program that would be a fit for you. You're also welcome to follow me on Instagram. My handle is @HannahMoneyBliss.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today. This was a beautiful conversation about money and energy, and I'm really excited for everyone to listen to it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to Their Chicos. I hope today's episode helped you see the connection between your emotions and physical health a little more clearly. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with anyone who could benefit from this conversation. And remember, true healing starts from within. Let's keep exploring that journey together. See you next time.